exposed. You can book that, baby. You can book that. Oh, this is going to be a beautiful day. It's going to be a beautiful day. First of all, again, we wish no harm. We wish Trayvon Diggs, we wish him not. I'm not happy that my brother is injured. I'm not happy about that, okay? But with him gone, it does compromise the secondary just tough, okay? Just tough, right? So even though their defense is going to be formidable in the same breath, they may compromise a little bit because, you know, they got to go up against Christian McCaffrey, a leading candidate for league MVP honors. I'd like him. That might add Debo Samuels is still there. Ayuk is still there. Kittles is still there. Is it Kyle Shanahan still calling plays? I think he's still calling plays. I mean, he's there. And then Brock Purdy, one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the National Football League QBR. We understand this. They're all there. And so when you look at the efficiency of the offense and the fact that they're going up against the Dallas Cowboys defense, it'll be a tantalizing matchup, to say the least. Where it gets funny, where it gets funny for me, where it gets funny for me is that we've been hearing a lot of noise about how there's an adjustment. We ain't gonna just throw the ball all day. We're gonna run the football. We're gonna have his hand to some degree. We're gonna manage him a little bit better. Well, guess what? You don't get to hide behind that this week. Because you ain't going to be able to run the ball so much against San Francisco 49ers. That brother going to have to throw that ball. He's going to have to throw that football this weekend. And right on cue, you can book it. Let me let the Dallas Cowboy fans know. I'm predicting 2 interceptions. Right? And obviously, one of them is going to be at a critical moment when you least need it.
Who predicts 2 interceptions?
I'm going to predict 2 interceptions. That's going to happen this Sunday. You heard me here first. Just
Where are you going to be watching this game?
Where will I be watching this game? Deciding. Well, I got to think about that. Well, I'll get back to you on where I think I'm going to be. Carmen's going to cook for me, though, so I'm going to get a food, whether it's live right there or she's going to send it there. I'm going to have it. I'm going to be on the East Coast. I ain't going to be on the West Coast. So that's all I want to say. Of course, the Dallas Cowboys are about to be exposed. You can book that, baby, because when I say that, I'm only talking about Dak Prescott. Good luck with that. Hope you have a good weekend, bro.
The Dallas Cowboys, will they get exposed? In the words of Steve Smith, who has a lot of, this season, he's changed his focus away from Dak. Away from the Cowboys as a whole to make this really about Dak Prescott. I've shown you the numbers. You know, we've talked about the numbers. I've even heard Dan Orlovsky, make a comment and said Dak was the worst quarterback in the NFL when the Cowboys were behind. He conveniently leaves out how bad Josh Allen played in the first week. He conveniently leaves out so many other people. Patrick Mahomes didn't play that great in the loss to the Lions, nor did he play that great against the Jets and the Taylor Swift. The Swifties that the NFL has now put their focus on and what that has meant and means for the NFL. We'll get into a little bit of all of those things. And we know that this weekend's game, Sunday night, Cowboys, 49ers, out in, Santa Clara, Northern California. The game of the year so far. San Francisco, I believe, is a 3.5-point favorite. We're going to see what happens, how the Dallas Cowboys react to being on the big stage, to being in, all eyes on them, which is always the case. But we're going to see if Dallas is up to the task, or is it the same old Cowboys that we have seen come up short. So today's show is obviously Cowboys 49ers. And ironically, their records are 19-19, and I believe there's one tie. So today's show, Cowboys versus 49ers, even Steven. Even Steven. This is Sports Bucks with Steve. Let's go.
Sports Bucks with Steve takes a deeper dive into the world of sports and the impact of money, fan debates, current sporting news, and offers financial tips. Coach Steve is a certified financial fiduciary and wealth coach who specializes in retirement income tax-free strategies for individuals and business owners throughout the country.
So this is Sports Bucks. We want to thank all of our sponsors, Tax Doctor. We got so many. Fig Wealth Partners, the Super Roll. We want to thank Ford Insurance Group and all that they're doing out there, helping people with open enrollment, healthcare time. It is here for a lot of us. You can actually get healthcare all year round if you have a business. There are special enrollment periods, so FordInsuranceGroup.com. Those folks can get you started and help you out. We want to thank, man, there's so many people to thank. The Beneficiary Liquidity Plan. Check that out. Making sure you have your beneficiaries getting the state corrected or the state plans that you have deemed you want to make sure that is available upon your, as we all know what's going to happen. There's two things for sure. There's death and there's tax. So make sure you check that out and make sure you take care of that. We also want to thank ERC, FNC, or FINC, which that number is 800-903-8808. That's ERC, helping people get some more of that taxes back. The ERC folks helping a lot of business owners claim what is rightfully theirs, that the government has allowed and said, yeah, you can get it. I want to thank our new sponsor that will be coming on. We're bringing some ads on, but Genesis Family Dentistry, Dr. Stacey Austin and her team over there at Genesis Family Dentistry, doing some really, really good things in the world of sleep apnea and sleep studies. We believe that that is a big deal, believe it or not, in that area. We also want to thank U.S. Medical Supplies as well for being a part of this show. So, this is Sports Bucks. Steve, we talked a little bit in this last opening about the Dallas Cowboys versus the 49ers. But before I really go into that, we'll talk a little bit about that. But I want to go into a couple of things, and I want to say flag on the play. There's a lot of stuff happening, and I'm going to say flag on the play in several ways. So we didn't talk about this last week, but the flag on the play was that the NCAA, you know, with their eligibility issues and all of these things and not doing the right thing, came under fire recently for their lack of allowing a kid for the Carolina Tar Heels, wide receiver Tez Walker, to play. And they got some threats. I think they even got some death threats of people being very, very upset. Unfortunately, the kid didn't get a chance to play in Charlotte, where he's actually from, where I reside. He didn't get a chance to play in a game where they were playing against the University of South Carolina, which would have been a big deal to have all your friends and family who've not seen you play college football, because he was at Kent State as a transfer, and before that he was at an historically HBCU school. So the NCAA has finally decided to do what is right. So I want to play you this video showing Tez Walker. I know you guys on video or radio, you're listening to the show, but I think this is a moment where finally there is a flag still on the play, because it shouldn't have taken all this. And the NCAA, doing what they do, has tried to shift blame and say that it was North Carolina. But take a listen to this.
Try again to get you eligible.
And he is so full of crap because you're eligible.
You're eligible to make out.
Unleash.
You're eligible. I love you, man.
Me too.
I told you that I'm going to take care of you.
So as you can hear, there's some joy, obviously, for all the right reasons. Tez Walker is now being allowed to play football. I want to go a little bit deeper into this, because I say about flag on the play, but I believe that this was so wrong in so many different ways where I thought this was wrong. So let me give you a little bit of a backstory. So Tez Walker, wide receiver, have been ruled ineligible by the NCAA for this upcoming season. Now, the NCAA has all of a sudden, as of this past Friday, decided to shift gears and said that he is now eligible for the 2023 season after missing the first 4 games after being denied because he had transferred twice. Now, his case was really a flagship point for the NCAA rules, and it brought, as I said, a lot of negativity to the NCAA. And here's how simple this was. This kid, who you can't transfer apparently more than one time. I understand with the NCAA, the NIL rules, and all these other things that come into place. So they call themselves, I guess, trying to keep the competitive balance in place. We all know that's foolishness because the bigger schools who have the most money nowadays can bring on the players legally. They've been doing it. But they can bring on the players legally and offer the biggest bag because they have the biggest exposure. They can talk about their TV rights. They can talk about all these other things that their games are going to be televised, which is going to bring you, the player, more money, which means their name, image, and likeness will have greater exposure. Well, so on the NCAA decides that a young man who transferred from a historically black college but sat out the COVID season. So he had transferred from an HBCU, which is not it's a subdivision of the NCAA in terms of it's not what we're used to call Division I, right? So it's not that. So Devontae Walker, I think is his formal name, he was actually considered a top 50 prospect for next year's NFL drafts. He actually transferred to North Carolina in part to play with star quarterback Drake May. Well, he's a 6'3" wide receiver. He'd hauled in 58 receptions for 921 yards and 11 touchdowns the previous season at Kent State. Well, he's eligible to join the undefeated Tar Heels for Saturday's game against Syracuse. Well, according to this is how crazy the NCAA was. So the rule is this. So apparently they were saying that when he left Moorhead, which I think was the school that he was a part of, that the previous ruling had ruled him ineligible, even though he did the transfer year, he never played in another Division I so-called school. So the previous ruling was on Walker came September 7th, and as I mentioned, it sparked heavy criticism in statements from Coach Mack Brown and various other individuals. And Brown said at that time that he didn't know whether he had ever been more disappointed because the young man never played for another D1 school other than he played at Kent State. So Moorhead didn't count against his transfer, if I'm getting this correctly. So the NCAA should have never denied him in the first place. And this is where Mack Brown went on to say, shame on you. And this is also one of the other guys with North Carolina said, shame on you, calling the decision maddening, frustrating, and wrong. So that prompted an NCAA response the next week with Moorhead and another official. This is somebody from the NCAA. I'm sorry, not Moorhead, we went to school. I can't remember the school he went to as far as the HBCU. Maybe it'll come back to me as I'm reading this article. But it said they were troubled by the school's response. The statement said violent and possibly criminal threats had been directed at committee members. So let's go back into this a little bit deeper as I read this article online. So it says here what the NCAA has now said after reinstating him, that North Carolina failed to provide previous information that would have made him eligible. Now, I was aware that he hadn't played, so the NCAA has not said what that previous information is. We don't know. So again, it's Walker who transferred from Kent State and had his initial eligibility for the 2023 season was denied because they thought he had transferred twice. His case actually became a flashpoint for NCAA rules, in part because Walker hadn't played during the COVID-19 season of 2020 at North Carolina Central. So that's the school he actually played at, was North Carolina Central, which did not have a season because of the pandemic. So even though it's a part of the NCAA, he didn't transfer twice because he never played at North Carolina Central University. So he never played. So this Thursday's announcement did not specify what this quote-unquote new information was that prompted NCAA to reverse his decisions. As I said, he missed the first 4 games, and the first one would have been played in front of his hometown in Charlotte, North Carolina, against the South Carolina Gamecocks. He had to sit on the sideline. So the school had posted the video, which I've already played for those folks who can see this video. And now Tez Walker, who is, as I mentioned earlier, is a top 50 prospect for the NFL's next year's draft. This was his words. He says, "I'm so excited and thankful that the NCAA has granted my eligibility to play this season. This hasn't been easy, but I'm looking forward to putting this in the past and moving forward. Always knew UNC was a special place, but it's proved it over and over again throughout the last few months. I've received so much support from the university, the athletic department, my coaches, the staff, and my teammates." In an unusually pointed statement, listen to this though, by the NCAA President Charlie Baker and Georgia President Jeria Moorhead, who is the Division I Board of Directors chair, actually chastised North Carolina officials for their handling of Walker's case. This is what Mr. Moorhead and Baker both attributed. He said it's unfortunate that UNC failed to provide this important information previously, which attributed to both Baker. It's been attributed to both Baker and Mayfield. While we must be careful not to compromise a student athlete's right to privacy when it comes to sensitive issues, we want to assure the Division I membership and everyone watching how the new transfer rules are applied, that this meets the new transfer waiver standards. The statement concluded. UNC's behavior and decision to wage a public relations campaign is inappropriate and outside the bounds of the process UNC's own staff supported. Had the UNC staff not behaved in this fashion and submitted this information weeks ago, this entire unfortunate episode could have been avoided. Well, UNC Chancellor Kevin Gaskowskowitz said in a statement, "In our stated effort, watch this, to exhaust all avenues, new information about this matter came to our attention and we immediately gathered and submitted it for consideration. The NCAA reached the right decision that restores Tez's experience as a student athlete and a Tar Heel." So Brown went on to say, head coach Mack Brown went on to say, who had been overly critical of the initial NCAA decision, said in a statement Thursday, and we'll read this before we go to commercial break, "Everything that transpired over the last few months has been with the sole purpose of helping and supporting Walker. And now he's going to have a chance to live his dream. We want to express our gratitude to the people at UNC who have worked tirelessly to assist Tez. We never gave up. We also want to thank the NCAA for being willing to re-examine Tez's case, and ultimately deciding to grant him eligibility." Listen, this is Sports Bucks with Steve. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back after these messages.
Are you looking for an affordable yet exceptional virtual healthcare solution for your workforce? Have you been thinking of a way to attract and keep a good team of employees? Well, your solution is here with My Virtual Docs. From virtual primary, urgent, and mental health care, a free and low-cost medicine formulary, and even pet care, My Virtual Docs has got everyone in the household covered. My Virtual Docs allows employers to provide employees and their families with convenient access to the care they need, on demand without having to miss valuable work time. Our strong network of providers and pharmacies means patients have unlimited access to their providers virtually with no copay, anywhere they can get online and have their medicines delivered right to their doorstep. By simply logging into their portal, patients can make appointments, visit with doctors, fill prescriptions, and more. And it keeps getting better. With the use of our smart app, Burn, your employees will be inspired to earn dollars while they burn calories. Who wouldn't want to get paid to go for a walk? Here at My Virtual Docs, we're committed to helping employers help employees and their families achieve optimal health and wellness with exceptional care at an affordable price. Visit myvirtualdocs.com for more details.
Is the cost of your meds giving you a headache? Prescription prices can vary significantly between pharmacies, but now you can save up to 80%. Simply download the RX Heroes mobile app, click Join Now to register, and then enter the promo code FOX to receive an additional 500 points just for signing up. RX Heroes offers rewards for shopping at your favorite retailers. Join the millions who save on their prescriptions. Download RX Heroes today on Apple App Store and Google Play.
Hi. Hi, my name is Lily. My mom and dad used to fight about money all the time. Then one day, I heard them talking about this guy, some uncle I never knew, called Uncle Sam. Well, they say this Uncle Sam guy wanted them to pay him like $1 gazillion, and they didn't have $1 gazillion. So they called this company they heard on the radio called the Tax Doctor. And the Tax Doctor worked with Uncle Sam's people. I think they're called the IRS. And they're able to work it out so my mom and dad didn't have to pay Uncle Sam very much money at all. So now mom and dad are happy, and I'm happy too. Thanks, Tax Doctor.
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS or state, call now and pay less.
Call 800-268-1055. That's 800-268-1055. 800-268-1055.
We're back. Once again, Sports Block with Steve. Back once again at you, and we appreciate you guys for listening to the show. As always, listen, flag on the play, NCAA. I'm throwing the flag on the NCAA because I always believe it's them that is the culprit behind most of the issues that comes with our student athletes. And for a long time, I've heard people complain about the NIL and how it's working and they don't like it. Well, and there's probably some problems to it because the rich, as I said earlier, schools get richer and they're able to pay these guys because they have more TV money. There's more exposure, so they can do a greater level of recruiting, whether they're paying them directly or not paying them, wink, wink. Right now, there's greater chances for the bigger schools to get some of these key players. Well, that's probably true. But you still have to allow somebody to make a living if you're promoting my name on the back of a jersey. If you just want to sell jerseys for the university and take the names off, you should do that, right? If it's all about just the school, as I've heard people argue and say, well, it's about the college, and they used to say it's about the experience. Well, if it's just about the school, right, and it's not about the players, take the players' names off and just sell the jerseys, if that's the case. But when you see these kids walking around with Manziel when he was in college, and you see them walking around before that with Bo Jackson and Cam Newton and Tim Tebow and all of these big names, you think it had something to do with not just the school, the university, but also the players? If you think that when Deion Sanders, when he was playing, it was about number 21 and Sanders on the back of that jersey. So it's not always about the front of the jersey, by the way. It's about sometimes the names on that back. I believe the University of Colorado is actually kind of proving that right now with the level of attention and money that's been brought into that school already with people like Coach Prime, Coach Deion Sanders has brought to that university. So NIL, whether you like it or not, I believe is here to stay, and it should be here to stay because there are players and people that if you can make money off of my name, I better get some money off of that. That's what I got to say. So in other news that I find to be, I don't know if this is fair or foul, but what I do know is that I find it interesting when you start to look at some of the information that has come out regarding Michigan State's now fired head coach Mel Tucker. So Coach Tucker has come out recently with apparently he's got like 106-page letter. First of all, for you to have which he calls new evidence against the University of Michigan State or the Michigan State University. He has been adamant, and a 106-page letter is not just a couple of pages saying this is what happened, and I'm going to say 106-page letter. Where there's smoke, man, there's some fire. And is this fair or foul for Michigan State to have fired the embattled former previously head coach? So I'm going to play the video, because I think this is sort of an interesting deal that we're not really talking about, but I do want to share you this video courtesy of ESPN again. And this video about Coach Mel and what he has, what information has now come out. It's a little shocking. Check this out.
Their head coach, Mel Tucker. What more can you tell us?
Yeah, Kelsey, 3 weeks of back and forth culminated today with Michigan State formally firing Mel Tucker. The school, quote, said that he's admitted and undisputed behaviors that have brought public disrespect, contempt, and ridicule upon the university. Clearly painted language that shows Michigan State has no intention of paying the $79 million that's left on Mel Tucker's contract. Tucker has responded twice in the last 10 days to the university's intention to fire him. He has portended potential legal action by saying he's looking forward to discovery, and he has called the university's investigatory process as terribly flawed, unfair, biased, and devoid of due process. So this is not the last we'll hear legally of Mel Tucker at Michigan State, but moving forward, he has been fired as Michigan State's head coach.
It has been a back and forth process, and as you mentioned, we will continue to keep an eye on what happens moving forward. In the meantime, Harlan Barnett continues to be the interim head coach.
So Harlan is now the interim head coach, and I would say that as we learn a little bit more about that, it's going to be interesting to say, like I said, the least, because Mel has this 106-page document, and where there's some smoke, there's some fire. Now, he's been accused of a few being sexually inappropriate, and setting a sort of a atmosphere that is not reflective of the values that Michigan State would expect out of a head coach. Is that fair? Maybe. Or is it foul? Or is it they want to get out of this contract and Michigan State is not where they would want the Sparties to be in terms of the success on the field? I don't know. All I know is that there's something there beyond what Michigan State's board and trustees are claiming against Mel Tucker. There's something a little bit more behind the scenes that we don't know. And I'll just say 106 pages, there's something to that he has filed. So we'll see what happens with that, with Mel Tucker. Now, when I come back, actually, before we go to break, do I want to do this now? We go to break. I did want to talk about the latest in the I'm Him award winner. And I'm trying to see if I can find a sound bite for one of the guys saying this, which I think is, I thought was, I think I did find it. So we'll play that real quickly. The latest in the I'm Him award winner. Let's take a listen, and then I'll tell you who is the winner as we sort of get into this. So the I'm Him winner, hold on, give me the I'm Him winner. Let's see.
After my run, man, how is that even a question? I'm him.
I'm him, as he clearly says. I'm him. After my run. Now that was from Stephon Diggs, who actually made that comment in a game. But the winner of I Am Him this week, it's the return of the Mac. Here I go. It's the return of the Mac. Man, oh man, did Khalil Mack have a I'm him reminder to the NFL in last Sunday's game. So, Khalil Mack had an unbelievable game where against the Raiders, where he was absolutely dominant. So much domination that Khalil Mack accounted for 6 sacks in the NFL game. 6 sacks. I don't think people understand. I don't want to say 6. He had 3 sacks against the Raiders, his former team. They had 6, I think, at that point when we were watching it, and I kind of turned away from it. He had 3 sacks against the Raiders, which is his former team. He actually also played for the Bears, where he was traded away to the Raiders. But what was said is that he had been a pass rusher at a high level for the last 3 games. And he said, this is head coach Staley. We do this thing. He taught me back in Chicago, close. He had been close the whole year to having 3 monster games. He was close. And head coach Staley said today he put it all together. This guy is one of the best edge players of a generation. And he is still that guy. He is still that guy. He just showed everybody, I'm still that guy. He's him. Khalil, return of the Mac. There I go. He's the return of the Mac. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back after this or these commercial breaks. We appreciate you guys for listening. There you go.
It's a bird!
It's a plane!
No, it's Super Roth!
Okay, a gimmicky opening for a commercial about Super Roth Universal Life Insurance, but I'm sure it got your attention. Now, what is a Super Roth, you ask? It's a permanent indexed universal life insurance that's totally liquid and easily accessible once it matures. Can be used to supplement retirement savings or a death benefit, or both. Has no income or contribution limit. Has no 5-year rule like Roth IRAs. Has no 10% penalty for accessing the funds before age 59 and a half. Oh, and the average historical returns are 5 to 7% annually. Tax-free. Super Roths also lock in gains, which means you don't lose your money when the market is down. Sounds incredible, right? Sounds super? Super Roths are the way of the future, specifically your future. To see if you qualify for a Super Roth, go online to thesuperroth.com.
If you've been injured in an accident that's not your fault and you don't have an attorney, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by to tell you what your case is potentially worth. Hello, I'm Gina, along with spokesperson Rob. Rob, tell the folks at home who should be calling right now.
Well, just like you said, Gina, anyone who's been injured in an accident that was not your fault, you don't have an attorney, give us a call right now, and we're going to let you know what your case is potentially worth.
Thanks, Rob. So what kind of calls have we been seeing today?
Well, Gina, we're getting calls from all types of accidents today. Work accidents, slip and falls, truck accidents, and most commonly, car accidents. So if you were injured in an accident that was not your fault, you don't have an attorney, take that first step, pick up that phone and give us a call. We're going to answer your questions and we'll let you know how much money you can get for your accident.
Thanks, Rob. All right, folks at home, you heard it. Go ahead, don't hesitate, take that first step and call now.
If you're a diabetic, we have great news. You can end the painful finger sticks with a new CGM. Plus, they may be covered by Medicare, Medicaid, or private insurance. If you use insulin or have had hypoglycemic events, you may qualify. Call US Med now to learn more.
800-628-7226. 800-628-7226. 800-628-7226. That's 800-628-7226.
Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Are you being audited or investigated? Has the IRS sent you a letter demanding payment? You may not owe what they claim. Make this free call to the tax doctor now. Let them negotiate with the IRS on your behalf.
800-663-5107. 800-663-5107. That's 800-663-5107.
And we're back. Another one, as they say. What is that? DJ Khaled. And another one. That was another commercial with one of our partners. And now let's kind of get into it, though. Let's kind of get into what is this week really about. We heard from yelling Stephen A. Smith and his continued disrespect of it was the Dallas Cowboys. Now all of it is on Dakota Rain Prescott. All of his focus now is now on Dakota Rain Prescott. So I've noticed that there's a grace that Stephen A. Smith and some of the other pundits will give to certain quarterbacks. Right now, Joe Burrow, who has played awful this season, and the Cincinnati Bengals, but he gets a pass because of his leg we know is injured. But when you're out there playing, we don't want to hear about your injury. If you're not able to go, don't play because you could be hurting your team. So I've noticed that there's no problem for them to glorify and prop up certain players. But Dak Prescott, who they won't tell you last season when he threw those interceptions, they won't mention the fact that he had his receiving core ranked 27th or 28th in different metrics in separation. What they won't tell you in that playoff game against the San Francisco 49ers, so I'm going to tell you because I'm not on the ESPN payroll or the Fox agendas. I own my own show. I'm going to tell you that the reality of what it really is what we miss about when we had the Chris Boomer Bermans and Jackson and Stewart, cooler underneath the pillow. Scott, may he rest in peace. Those guys are missing. Those people are missing from what ESPN is presenting today. ESPN is now just a shock jock, say hot takes, which is hot garbage most of the time, and not present you with the facts that you would want sports journalists to come up with. Well, I'm going to do that as a wealth coach and as a lover of sports. I'm going to give you some facts. I'm going to give you the right information. So I want to play this video. And Jeff Saturday is a guy that is kind of not a part of the club, but he's a part of the club. So watch what Jeff Saturday had to say about this.
Say this about Dak Prescott, right? We bash Dak Prescott more than any other quarterback, which is obviously ridiculous. But when you talk about the Niners, their defense does this to every quarterback, bro. Yeah. This is not new. It's not new to make it really hard on a quarterback. It's a great defense. Not one player on the defense. All three levels of this defense are really good. So do you think Dak Prescott will throw for 500 yards? You're lying to yourself. Right. Nobody throws for 500 yards. Limit your turnover. Give yourself a shot at the end. But do not expect Dak to come out here and just torch this defense because nobody does. It's just that's not what you're looking for. You're just looking for consistency out of his position.
Yeah, 100%. And what I would say is even more so for the Cowboys, we do know that when they get a lead, oh, my goodness, they're a massive problem with their pass rushers. So for the Cowboys, they have to be better in the red zone.
No doubt.
Now, I've said that they missed Zeke last week. They were 1-4 again in the red zone this week. It doesn't matter who's in the lineup for them on the offensive line, whether it's their Hall of Fame starters or their backups. They are struggling in the red zone. If you're the Cowboys this week, you have to put together the best red zone plan you've ever done because scoring 7 in the red zone is going to pay dividends for you against a tough team like the 49ers. And right now, the Cowboys are ranked 30th in the NFL in red zone efficiency, whereas last year they were number 1.
So let's put a little bit a pin in that real quickly. I want to put a little bit of a pin in that. So this is where the problem comes in. This is where the problem comes in. And then I want to also play you an additional video from ESPN where the talking heads once again are disrespectful to what people doing against NFL caliber teams. But let's go back to what Robert Griffin said. Do you guys know that the Dallas Cowboys scored a touchdown on the 20-yard line to CeeDee Lamb? It was a fade route to CeeDee Lamb. It was on the 20. So it didn't count for some reason because it wasn't on the 19. This is what we're talking about. Because it wasn't on the 19, it is considered a red zone. It wasn't a red zone score, even though it was on the 20. So this is how they lack in giving you clarity and giving you an actual, unbiased, this is what it was, this is how it is game. I'm going to go back to the injuries, though. Notice that Joe Burrow gets a pass because he was injured. There are other quarterbacks that get a pass because their lineman or somebody was missing or this guy. Dallas, in the game against Arizona, which I was completely worried about because I know what I've seen from my team is a lack of maturity. And I heard Swagoo mention this. It's a lack of maturity. However, I will also say it was a lack of having Hall of Fame offensive linemen available for that game. When you are missing Zach Martin, Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer, when you're missing Tyron Smith, future Hall of Famer, when you're missing your All-Pro center or your Pro Bowl center, there is a difference. Pro Bowl center, that's 3 of your linemen. And you are also missing one of your standout, I believe, one of the standout receivers in that particular game. I believe Brandon Cooks didn't play, which you brought him in to be a threat, a deep threat. We haven't seen it yet, but hopefully he will. So you're also coming off of a major shakeup in the building with Trayvon Diggs. Your all-pro corner is out. So all of this is happening Thursday, Friday. You're not knowing who's going to play. So the reality is Dak doesn't get a pass. We also don't recognize the fact that when Tony Pollard got hurt against the San Francisco 49ers, who are a very good defensive team, young man I coach, Nick Bosa, is Defensive Player of the Year, reigning defending Defensive Player of the Year. They did not have to deal with any great receiving threats. Tony Pollard and CeeDee Lamb was it. So now all you got to do is bracket CeeDee Lamb. You got a tight end in Dalton Schultz who does not want a lot of contact. I've seen him get tackled by corners one-on-one. Drives me crazy. That should never happen. A tight end should never get tackled by a cornerback one-on-one. Should never happen. Unless he gets you by the shoestrings. But up front or tackling you any kind of way, you should be able to bull through that and get at least another couple of yards. Shouldn't happen. No way should a corner tackle a tight end one-on-one without help. Outside of a shoestring tackle or going at your legs. But if he's hitting you anywhere up high, you're supposed to run through that. And I've seen that happen with Dalton Schultz on multiple occasions. So now he's in Texas, a Houston Texan, and I actually don't miss him. And know hopefully he has a good career over there. But I think Ferguson is showing that he might be the guy that has a little bit more to him edge-wise than what we've seen from Dalton Schultz. But those are just things that the NFL won't bring up. They don't bring up that Dak Prescott had a broken thumb last year. They don't bring up the fact that he was recovering from that horrific injury that happened a year or so earlier, or 2 years earlier than that he was still getting over that. And he had gotten hurt in that New England Patriots game the year before that he never fully recovered from. But Dak doesn't get that grace. So let me play you one more ridiculous video where Stephen A. Smith is once again enjoying himself as he continues to trash Dak Prescott at every turn, as if Dak, by the way, Dak Prescott has a 2% career interception rate percentage. That means out of 100 throws, he averages 2 interceptions. That is historically in the top 10 all time for interceptions. They won't tell you that either.
Jets, Patriots. That's who the Dallas Cowboys have beaten, and they've lost to Arizona. What do you want, a cookie? I mean, they get ready to go up against San Francisco. We'll find out what it is because the first 4 games they played this season are the teams that probably won't even make the playoffs. Okay, do you know that Dallas's defense and special teams has accounted for as many touchdowns as Dak Prescott this year?
You're the worst.
Did you know that?
Here comes the laugh.
Did you know that? I'm just saying. The point that I'm trying to make to you is this. You look at Mike McCarthy. You look at what they're doing. You got to ask yourself, is this stuff sustainable? Can you hide Dak for so long? Can you use the defense and the special teams, okay, and just ride that wave? You know you can't. You know you can't, right? It's not going to work. It's not going to work. So, Shannon, go ahead, Shannon. You can take the floor. I'm just telling y'all right now, y'all get excited about the Cowboys all you want to. There's nothing redeeming that I saw about them yesterday. They just beat up on a team that ain't worth much offensively. That's all.
Yeah, they've beaten 3 teams that are offensive challenged. And again, we spoke about this the last couple of weeks. What happens when the Cowboys defense doesn't get scooping scores or pick sixes or the special teams put them on short fields? We saw it again yesterday. I think they had a stat on the screen. Dallas has won for their last 8 red zone trips. And you know, kicking field goals lose you game. Scoring touchdowns in the red zone win you championships. And Molly mentioned that stat about how since they drafted Micah Parsons, they are number 1 in takeaways and number 1 in defense score, and yet to have a conference or a Super Bowl title to show for all that hard work. So don't give me all those numbers. Give me some results to go along with those numbers. So for me, my concerns are still intact. And granted, Dak hadn't had to do a whole lot for the most part, with the exception of Arizona. They played from the lead. And once Arizona put him in a bind and forced them to play from behind, Dio, I'm going to turn it over to you. Can you tell the people at home what happened? See, it's easy to play football when you're up 14, when you're up 21, when you're up 30, when you're up 40.
Preach.
But how difficult and how different is it to play a game of football from the quarterback position when every throw matters, every down matters? For the most part, with the exception of one game, Dak Prescott this year hasn't had a game or throw or down that matter, with the exception of Arizona. And what happened?
Didn't get it done.
So once again, we see the vitriol for Dak Prescott is constantly in the media, and it's all about what Dak didn't do, what Dak is going to do. Well, here's what we're going to do. We have a big one coming up, our Power 5 ranking. To wrap up this segment, we're going to take a quick commercial break as we get ready to take this thing to the end of the road. Our Power 5 this week, because it changes from week to week based on performance. Right now, number 5 is America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. At number 4 is the Kansas City Chiefs. At number 3 is the Philadelphia Eagles. At number 2 is the Buffalo Bills. And number 1, San Francisco 49ers. This is Sports Bucks with Steve's Power 5 this week. We'll be right back after this commercial break. If I can find it. Commercial break. Let's see.
What is your plan for your beneficiaries to manage your final expenses when you pass away? Life insurance, annuities, bank accounts, investment accounts all require a death certificate, which takes 10 days based on the national average, which means no money is immediately available, and this causes stress and arguments. Simple solution: the Big Wealth Partners Beneficiary Liquidity Plan. Use money you already have. No need to come up with additional funds. The funds grow tax-deferred and pass tax-free to your named beneficiaries. The death benefit is paid out in 24 to 48 hours without a death certificate. You heard me right, without a death certificate. Call Fig Wealth Partners at 1-800-306-5086. That's 1-800-306-5086. Or reach us online at figwealthpartners.com.
Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Are you being audited or investigated? Has the IRS sent you a letter demanding payment? You may not owe what they claim. Make this free call to the tax doctor now. Let them negotiate with the IRS on your behalf.
800-663-5107. 800-663-5107. That's 800-663-5107.
And that is the commercial breaks. We're back to kind of give a little bit of a final thoughts on some of these games. Obviously, the game of the day, the San Francisco 49ers against the Dallas Cowboys it's the game of the week. It's the game of the year. Of course, there are other big games in the NFL, but none bigger than this one. And so that's the reason why this is really the big focus. The Cowboys, who are 3-1, travels to play San Francisco, who's undefeated. And it's going to be, the best against the best, I believe. If Dallas comes out, the problem with Dallas is that we don't know as a Cowboy fan, and maybe this is some things about the media that is correct. We don't know which team's going to show up. We really don't know. And so hopefully we'll see the team that played against the Giants and the Patriots and against the Jets, and we'll get a full effort from a team that is motivated on the biggest of stages. I tell people this all the time, though. This is going to come down to the officials. This is going to come down to the officials. How they call the game or a lack of calling certain plays is going to be the difference. So, there was a quote from defensive tackle Jonathan Hankins, who said the Cowboys are treating Sunday's matchup like a playoff game, which I don't know if I like that. You're putting too much into this game, because if you lose, then where's the morale, which you're not favored to win. And San Francisco, let's just say, has some very intricate run design plays, which can, there's some things that you may be able to get away with in the NFL on those, especially those runs to the edge. And you got a guy like C-Mac, Christian McCaffrey, who's one of the best. But Jonathan Hankins, who I think is going to have to be really big, and I'm really waiting for Mozzie Smith to become, hopefully, the dog that we need him to be. But he said there's always going to be a battle when we're going against the Niners, and obviously the last 2 years they've had our numbers. So this game means a lot more to us than just a regular season game, Hankins says. Two of the best teams in our conference, so we've got to turn the page and beat the 49ers, man. And he's right. You do need to beat the 49ers. I don't think this is a week where you can just say, well, a loss doesn't mean as much, but a win means something. But I also know that in the NFL and in the media, Dallas can't really win this game, but on the standings. Here's what I mean, and I'll end it with this. The Dallas Cowboys win this game, the media is going to say, you guys yell it out, well, they got to beat them when it matters. You got to beat them in the playoffs. Let's see what happens when they play them in the playoffs. If they lose, it's what we thought. Dallas is not ready for prime time. They're not ready. They're not going to beat the 49ers. They can't win. You beat them, it's beat them in the playoffs. If you lose, it's what we thought was going to happen. They can't really win. The only thing you can do is take care of your in-house, clean up the messes and the mistakes, hopefully get some people back healthy, continue to make sure you take care of your assignments. Hopefully the officiating won't be as one-sided as we've seen in these last few games, because that's really what it's been. It's been a very one-sided officiated games, with the 49ers getting the benefit of the doubt more than enough. So hopefully we'll see a game that is called even Steven. This is Sports Bucks with Steve. We'll see you next week, God willing. God bless. And you guys have a great one.